Hello again, here we are, looking at another bike. This one is from Marin Bikes. We'll just give you a little bit. That's their thing. Marin Bikes are made for fun and they live up to that. So the bike we're looking at today is a bike that's made for fun, but it's also made for the person who doesn't have endless amounts of money to spend. They want a good time. They want a full suspension bike. They're looking for something to ride trails, up, down, around, maybe some youthful exuberance of jumps, that sort of thing. This is the Marin Hawk Hill 1. I believe at some point later this year, we're actually going to see this same bike getting a name change to the Rift Zone 27.5 one. And this is a bit to do with them trying to make it a little bit more intuitive for people to sort of understand the bikes, and that they have this, the Hawk Hill and the Rift Zone, which are very similar bikes, one with 29, one with 27.5 wheels, as well as something to do with the Hawk Hill name having some sort of an issue in Timbuktu or whatever. Anyways, for now we're calling this a 2021 Marin Hawk Hill 1. I'm showing you one of two colors on this bike. I will quickly shoot over. This is the second color of that same bike. So same bike, very, very popular bike, available in two different colors. I am going to go back to this one because I built a wall out of boxes to showcase it against, and because I think this is a funner and funkier color. So back in 2017, let's do story time. Pink Bike did a review of what at the time was just called the Hawk Hill. They only made this version of this bike. Now they make it in three different quality levels, the Hawk Hill 1, 2, or 3. Back then they just made the Hawk Hill, and it was reviewed on Pink Bike, and the guys there basically loved this bike because it brought a lot of things as far as upgradeability and geometry down into a price point where the competition was kind of giving you yesterday's news as far as outdated geometries, drivetrain ideas, all sorts of stuff. It got a glowing review, and it stays true to that old theme that this is a bike that A, you can upgrade it a lot, B, it's worthy of being upgraded. It's not some funky goofball geometry that to throw any money at upgraded wheels or parts would be a waste. This thing is totally worth it, and they build this same bike up to a $3,600 basically Canadian bike. This one here is $21.99. Alloy frame, and that's Canadian. $21.99 Canadian. That's $15.99 in US dollars. So still standing out as a really legit bike for a good entry-level price point with a really smart spec, smart geometry, a really fun design. So the other two models in this, we'll just do that quickly. Hawk Hill 2, $26.99 in Canada, or $19.49 in the States. Or the Hawk Hill 3, $35.49 in Canada, and $25.99 in the States. So 27.5 wheeled bike with 120 mil rear travel, 130 mil travel fork. One of the things that makes this so upgradable, we'll get down into this right off the bat. That rear axle there is doing a funky thing that means it's using basically a quick release style skewer in there, but is upgradable to a thru axle. So down the road, you destroy your rear wheel, you go into your shop, get yourself a thru axle rear wheel, and you'll be able to upgrade to something that's higher quality, stiffer, stronger, all that sort of stuff. So let's just get over the specs and some of the geometry highlights. So to start with, we have some V-Tire Crown Gems. These are, in my mind, a really nice kind of do-it-all trail tire. You have some decent cornering knobs. It is a tubeless ready tire and a tubeless ready rim, though you would have to buy some valves and some sealant. That's front and rear, same tire, 27.5 by 2.35 is the size of that tire, even though the spec sheet says it's a 2.3. When I actually use my eyeballs for some reading on the tires, it says 2.35. Another place where the magic happens. This year, 2021, is a pretty special year because Shimano's Dior system comes in 10-speed, 11-speed, or 12-speed drivetrains. This is the 11-speed variant, which still gives us, that is a clutch right there. The clutch is what makes this spring super, super strong, which allows for a really good functioning 1x drivetrain. In this case, we're looking at the 11-speed version of Dior, and that's matched with that cassette is 11 to 51 range of gears. So that thing is basically, that's one tooth away from giving you a 1x12 drivetrain, which would be a 1051. The difference with going with 11-speed is they can use a standard free hub, so a standard cassette works on there. So 1151 range with 11 speeds. You've got a clutch. You've got the magic of Shimano Dior. This stuff works incredibly well. I'm super impressed with it. You get a narrow wide chainring here. This is a two-piece style crank, so that's why you can basically just see a big hole in there and you can see through to the other side. You just have some pinch bolts there, something to preload your bearings, external style bearings on there, so that is similar to a Holotech system that you would see from Shimano. A good KMC 11-speed chain. An upgrade for this year is this new chainstay protector. This seems to be a trend from a lot of the manufacturers. Adding a bunch of this extra texture actually helps to sort of calm the chain if it does start bouncing around in really rowdy terrain. So it both calms the chain and shuts it up quite a bit. This bike is built around a multi-track single pivot design. So if you don't understand single pivot, there is right behind, that is your single pivot. There is nothing between that pivot and your rear axle. So it's called single pivot because your rear axle moves in a simple arch around that main pivot. We do have a linkage driven single pivot though. So you have a link here that's not in that area between main pivot and axle. A link goes up and it drives your shock downward. So this is giving us 120 millimeters of rear travel. One of the magic things on this bike is, I believe this is like 425 millimeter chainstays, so a really short chainstay, and that's partially made possible by this relatively simple suspension design. And a short chainstay will give you a really playful, fun bike. So if you watch some of the team members, Scott Thornhill, Matt Jones, they are able to do basically slope style on a bike like this because the rear end remains short enough that this becomes a really agile jumper. Works really well. Rear shock on this is an X Fusion air shock with rebound adjustment. There's no lockout or anything, but the nice thing when you only have 120 millimeters of suspension is you basically, if you set up your sag properly and your rebound properly, this bike is going to pedal efficiently enough that if this is your budget, you're not going to mind too much that your rear shock is an air shock with just the rebound adjustment. Just show these colors here. So the first thing I showed you that made this bike really upgradable was the fact that it had that through axle upgradable rear wheel and frame. The next thing is that is a port so that you can put a dropper post on here. An aftermarket dropper post, you're going to be looking installed somewhere around 300 bucks. We've got Shimano MT201, a relatively basic hydraulic disc brake on here. We've got the new Marin head badge with the bear and the star there. I think that's really cool looking. We've got a RockShox Recon fork, 130 millimeters of travel on this fork, and it is a through axle version of the fork. So a through axle is basically just going to help to stiffen up your front end. It gives you a little bit more accurate steering, combined with the fact that this is a tapered head tube on this frame. You get a little bit more stiffness out of the front end of your bike than some of the less expensive bikes out there. The rotors are center lock, so that's just one of the two different ways that that rotor can be mounted on the hub. There's your brake. A little bit of, that's your, once again, V Crown Gem tubeless compatible tire on there. So this is an air fork with compression adjustment. That basically means that you can turn that thing, like the direction it's turned right now is to be locked out. And under the leg right here, don't even know if you can see it, but there is a rebound adjustment down there. So that allows you to just tune how quickly the fork's going to bounce back so it doesn't feel like a glorified pogo stick. We've got Marin cockpit parts. A nice short 50 millimeter long stem, 780 millimeter wide handlebars, a Marin logoed saddle, looks pretty decent, kind of grippy rubber stuff, color matched a bit there to go along with that nice orange deckling that we have there. Of course, room for a water bottle, another nice thing with a relatively short travel bike like this. Just show you some of the details. You got a quick release. In lieu of having a dropper seat post, at least you can stop and just drop your post down. A lot of people would end up probably having to chop their seat post a little bit. And you chop it with getting your ride height to the right height that your seat post still has enough insertion, but that you leave yourself a bit of room that you could drop your seat if you are going to the local pump track or doing a bigger descent and you want your seat down and out of the way. This bike is 32.9 pounds, and that is weighing this exact size small we have here. That's with tubes in the tires. So if this was set up tubeless, we would maybe get that down to 32.5, closer to 32 pounds. It's still a reasonable weight, I would say, for a bike like this. Nowhere that you're going to easily lose weight without watching this price tag go up from the affordable range up into the less affordable. So that is the highlights of the 2021 Marin Hawk Hill 1 in one of two colors. Now I'm just going to talk about sizing a little bit here too. I'm just going to show the second color. So a black, a gray with some of the cyan color, same sort of spec on everything. Sizing, if you're thinking about a bike like this, our personal experience is a little bit different from what you'd see on the Marin website. Using a size large as sort of a sizing guide They say 5'10" to 6'1". I would say what we're seeing more realistically is 5'9" to 6 feet is working out really well. That also means that a medium would be about 5'6" to 5'9", a size small 5'3" to 5'6". In this particular model, this is the only of the Hawk Hills that comes in an extra small. And that extra small, I would say, fits down to, we've probably seen riders down to about 4'11" on there. But the official sizing guide from us, at least, would probably say 5 feet to 5'3". And then these go up to a extra large, and an extra large, you're probably talking about 6 foot to 6'3". If you're any larger than that, you're probably looking at a Rift Zone anyways, which has the stability of 29-inch wheels, which works on an extra large a little bit better anyways. 66-degree head tube angle, 66.5, sorry. 74.3 seat tube angle. So the steepness of your seat tube angle is going to go hand in hand with the power of your legs. A lot of super hardcore bikes these days are getting up to 78-degree seat tube angles. That is to power or to position you really well for steep climbs. If you ride on a little bit flatter terrain, or if you don't have the power to climb steep terrain, not going super steep on your seat tube angle is actually going to be a bonus for you. So that is a case where if you're thinking about a relatively entry-level full suspension like this, you probably aren't the ideal candidate for a super steep seat tubed bike, because you might find that it's leaving a little bit of extra weight on your hands and you're just less comfortable when it comes to pedaling around on flatter terrain. I'll just show you a couple things here. That is the port for where your dropper post cable is going to go up inside. When you decide to upgrade to that, your dropper post will end up sharing this port. This right now is the brake hose going to your rear brake. And I think I've probably shown you enough here that you feel like you have seen a 2021 Marin Hawk Hill 1 in person. You can always check us out, www.bikebros.ca. We're in Canada, in Cochrane, Alberta. We are sellers of Marin, Giant, Rocky Mountain, Pivot, Noli. We are riders. We are passionate riders and long-time riders, and a lot of really good mechanics here too. So when you get your bike from us, it's put together really well. You're going to get the advice, things like seat tube angle matched up with your riding strength and for your comfort, things like that. We're not just trying to sell you a bike, we're trying to sell people the bike that's going to put a huge smile on their face. Thank you. I'm Graham from Bike Bros in Cochrane, Alberta, Canada. www.bikebros.ca. I'm out.